Welcome to Acorn to Oak with Penny Quayle Pierce and co-host Matthew Donachie. Within each acorn, there is the DNA that strives to be a mighty oak tree. All it needs to reach its potential for greatness is to be activated. You are the acorn. On this show, we will share with you the tools and guidance you need to grow into the person you are meant to be. And now your host, Penny Quayle Pierce and co-host Matthew Donachie.
Hi, good evening. It's Penny. I hope you're well this evening, and I'll just hand over to Matthew so he can say hello also.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's number 3 for us, so we're really excited about some of the feedback and some of the numbers of you guys who are listening to us, so that's really encouraging. So this evening we're going to discuss a subject that's close to an awful lot of people's hearts, which is about our children and how do we hypnotise our children. And so it's going to be a light-hearted show. Please, whatever you do, don't take any of this personally as parents. We do the best job we can possibly do at any one given moment in time. But it is really surprising how children can actually pick up things that, and we don't expect them to, but it comes back later on in life. A child's mind is literally full of questions. Like, who am I? What kind of person am I? Where do I fit in? Children are trying to look at how and where they fit in the universe. And we don't realise that as the big people in their lives, they take on board some of our thoughts, values, morals, questions, all sorts of different stuff. And we don't realise how much it embeds into their unconscious or even their subconscious minds. So, we just wanted to open up this topic so that we can discuss it and look at it. So, Matthew, is there anything you'd like to say around that right now?
The only thing I would add to that is just expanding on what you said, really, and it's very much that, like, children are like sponges. All their senses are going, and they're hearing things, they're seeing things, they're feeling things, they're tasting things, they're touching things, and they're gaining evidence on every level, on every sense, and building evidence to form themselves. So they're very much like sponges when they're younger, just taking everything in, all the information.
I think
so that's all I would add to that.
I think it's a subject very, very close to my heart at the moment because, I have a 2-year-old son, Hector, and you can see, him just assessing everything all the time. And it's quite amazing because, Hector will go, you can tell when he's in his left brain and he's doing and he's creating and he's losing his logical mind. And then when he goes into his right brain to assimilate it all, it's like he at the moment, it's like he goes into a slight trance-like state where he's just, right, okay, so how can I make sense of that? Where does that fit within me? And as a 2-year-old, he's something else. He really is a great teacher right here, right now. And, one of the things that is quite amazing is, when we're big, when we're a big person and compared with them, we're huge people, not just in size, but in consciousness and everything else. They really pay attention to how and what you actually do. And it's amazing because Hector will give me quite an old-fashioned look if he thinks I'm incongruent. And it's, you wouldn't even believe that a 2-year-old could actually catch you out on an incongruence, but they can. And it's really, really important. And I know when I was doing my work, when I was doing my journey, there was a lot of statements I heard when I was a child that were said by usually overstressed parents that weren't necessarily helpful. And if they're repeated, it's amazing how those statements can actually, not damage us, but they can go into our subconscious. And feelings like you're not good enough come from that stage of development. And it's really quite important to understand this, that most of our limiting beliefs are embedded within us as a child. And it's not just from parents. Obviously, parents are really important, but it's also from teachers and other people in authority. Anybody who is, taller than us and obviously in a position of authority can say something, and it can pop up later on in life and needs to be healed or cleared. Statements like, or messages that may be, you're lazy, or you're not doing what you should be doing, or you're a great kid. These types of statements, when they come from big people, as I call parents or older people, they go deeply within, as I said, our unconscious or subconscious. And it's amazing, when obviously I deal with adults, more adults than I do children. And when they're being overcome by a life crisis, it's pretty much some of these statements come to the top, and they feel like I'm useless, or I don't know who I am. And it's really, really important to understand that when we are doing our own self-healing as adults, it's actually going back to some of the things that were repeated to us with alarming regularity when we were children. And I know Matthew would like to say something around this.
Yes, it's interesting how things happen. I did a talk last week on how we hypnotise our children, and I think for the listeners to get a real good grasp around what we mean is ask yourself what you were told. What did you hear from adults? So some of mine were, I'd be running around, enjoyed looking at things, much like Penny was saying about Hector. They'll pick something up, they'll look at it, they'll try and work out how it often comes apart, and sometimes put it back together. But most children are told to sit down and be quiet, because for the parent in that moment, that child is being an inconvenience to them. So rather than just let the child be in joy, they're told to sit down and be quiet. One of them was money doesn't grow on trees. A lot of people have sort of statements which their parents would have said, and we take these on board as children, very much like Penny said, because they're an authority figure. We take it on board, and it may not be necessarily true for us, but we take it as the truth because it was true for our parents. So just writing down some of the things that you heard as a child, and very much it can be, you have to work hard to do well in life. If you don't get the grades, you'll never be a success. So for the 1% that get straight A's, that's that's great, but all the children that are told if you don't get top grades, you'll never do well, they never do well because they didn't necessarily have the academics to get the grades. And it doesn't mean that they're not an intelligent person and capable of achieving great things, but because of something that they were told once that they believed, naturally they run their patterns, their thought forms on that. And when I won't do well because I didn't get the grades is running in your mindset, the experience you get in your life is going to be exactly what is going on in your mind. So some of these statements, although we throw them out, and how many times, and I see it a lot in public here, when I take my niece and nephew out, we have rules, and it's all around safety. So as long as I can see them and they look both ways when they're crossing roads and that sort of thing, you have those rules to keep them safe. But other than that, I'll let them have free rein as long as they're behaving. And I find they behave because I give them free rein. And most adults out there, it's don't do this, don't do that, come here, stop looking at this. And all their kids want to do is explore and expand their minds. And they've looked at something and found it could be a bug on the floor. And they want to pick it up and have a look and see what it is. And they're being told, no, don't do that. Do what I would like you to do. And even just that little comment, it just stops the children growing and actually realising that life is fun. We can learn just as much from children as they learn from us. If you look at a child's natural state, they're either in joy or they're upset by something. And it could be they've just gone to the toilet, they need a change, or they're hungry, or they're tired. But generally, there's always a reason why they're upset. The rest of the time, they're in pure joy. So we should be looking at children and going, I want to get back to that. And it's the emotional suppression over our lives that doesn't allow us to feel like a child. But it's these little statements that can make such a big difference on the way that a child develops and forms their thought forms.
It is really important, and I think for me, that very much when I go back and I look at my own story, I was dyslexic as a child. I actually couldn't read consistently until I was about 13 years old, and I had to go to, had different hearing tests and all sorts of different tests because dyslexia wasn't, hugely recognised when I was a child.
No.
I'm showing my age now. So, but it wasn't a term that you heard an awful lot. But it's amazing because when I was first growing up, I had obviously I had 4 brothers and sisters, and the 3 eldest were all A grade students. And then I came down last, and obviously couldn't read, and and people thought that I was unintelligent, and actually that's not the truth. Most of the time, actually, dyslexic people are highly intelligent. They just cannot seem to get that connection flowing very well in their brains. And I was very right-brained, whereas my brothers and my siblings were very left-brained. But when I couldn't read, and it was repeated, obviously repeated to me that obviously I was stupid, or I was sick, I was lazy, I was clumsy or stupid, I just look at that as a challenge. And, when someone told me that I couldn't do something, or, you're never going to get a good job because, you couldn't read until you were 13.
Yeah,
and you look now at the string of letters I have after my name. I have an MA master's degree. I have a MSc. So I have 2 master's degrees. I have more letters after my name. And I think it was all to prove the fact that I wasn't lazy and I wasn't stupid and I wasn't clumsy. And all of those things that people had written me down as. So for me, it was a real big motivator in my life. But not every child has that assurance. One of the things that, I did have in my life was I knew that my parents loved me. And, I was very secure in that knowledge. An awful lot of people, other people didn't love me at all because I was a hellborn babe, definitely. And I would push the boat out. And when, of course, I look at my son now, when he's trying to swing from lampshades, I just look at him and go, oh, well, I know where that comes from. Because I was very adventurous as a child. And when you actually don't keep on repeating, no, don't do that, and actually just stand back and allow your child to explore, as I'm sure you're all aware, they will start to monitor self. I mean, when Hector was smaller, I would actually say to him, my statement was, be careful. Just be careful. Look at what you're doing. Be careful. Whereas now I don't even bother with be careful, because he will actually look at something and he basically assesses it. You can see him assessing it, and then he'll try it. And if he does it, he does it. And if he doesn't, then he just picks himself up, brushes himself off, and he makes new decisions. And it's really interesting to actually watch that. So, it's really important to encourage your child without, as Matthew was saying, without limiting their self-expression and without limiting, allowing them to grow that adventurous spirit, if that is what they are like. It's when we actually try and stop them, things turn pretty hairy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be back after the break.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
We are talking about your life. Ever wonder, is this as good as it gets? No, it could be so much better. At Acorn to Oak, we know you are seeking more happiness, joy, unconditional love, financial freedom, passion, and purpose. Find your unique mojo and live an extraordinary life. Want to know more? Contact us at our website, acorntooak.org.uk.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
so we're back,
Hi.
with children. They actually think that adults know everything and can read your minds. I can remember my mum when we were kids, and literally, if you actually put a foot in her bedroom, okay, to go and find something, or you think you're just doing whatever, she would know and shout up the stairs, "What are you doing in our room?" And we think, she's a witch. She knows everything. So, when when you're a child and you're told you're clumsy, you become so nervous that you are clumsy. When a child
Yeah.
is told they're being a pest, they feel rejected and become desperate for reassurance and do pester. A child who's told that they're an idiot may violently disagree on the outside, but inside can only sadly agree. You're right. You're the adult. You must be right. And it's really important, again, we've all lost it at times. We're tired, we're run down, something may have happened at work, i.e., we may have just been laid off, or we're told that our money is being reduced, or whatever it is, and we feel hugely under pressure. And unless we deal with that within ourselves or with our partner, then, we can take it out on the child without realizing it. And if you say, to a child, you're lazy, you little brat, what are you actually setting up there for them to become? That they will do, again, as I was saying, bratish behaviour, because any attention, whether it be positive or negative attention sometimes can be the only way a child can feel that their needs are getting met. And
Yeah.
it's really, really important to, if you can, ignore bad behaviour and just keep on praising the child when they do great behaviour. We have a great thing at Acorn to Oak, let alone which I use at home. And whenever anybody does anything that's vaguely good, it's always good job, mate. Good job. And which is one of the things I use with Hector all the time. Is whenever he does something that is really positive, it's a case of it's good job. This morning we've had a lovely day in the UK today. And it's beautiful, beautiful spring weather. So Hector and I were out in the front gardening, doing some gardening this morning. And he has a tendency to pick up and run away with all the tools. But that's, being a boy. Or he'll just put them just out of reach. So, if he brings me something, it's always, good job, mate. That's fantastic. And it just keep on talking to him. Neighbours must think I'm nuts because I continually talk to him whilst we're out in the garden. Because if I don't, then his attention will wander and he'll go and he has a tendency to like bright flowers. So all the flower heads come off and I get presented with a handful. So it's just looking at it and saying thank you for them and going, oh, there goes another pretty plant. But hey, he's 2 years old. He's just exploring. So again, handing over to Matthew, because I know he's had a few experiences in his life story too.
Yeah, it very much felt like you were talking about me just now. So, and I think when you've been through something, it works in stages. So I was very much told when I was a child, why can't you be more like your brother, was one of the comments. You're an idiot. And it's a case of sometimes these comments can be made in the moment of anger and this, that, and the other. But when you hear something enough, you believe it. And as a child, you think when an adult says to you, why can't you be more like your brother? The first thing that comes into your head is, well, because I'm not my brother. I'm me. So then your next thought is, well, there must be something wrong with me then, because there's not something wrong with my brother. What this leads to is obviously self-doubt, and obviously where Penny said she rose to the challenge and where people said, oh, you may not be academic, it's I'm going to show you that I am, and actually I'm more capable. For me, it sort of went the other way, where through a lot of my life, up to my early 20s, I had no self-confidence. I mean, I very much put on a mask, so sometimes the people that seem as though they're doing very well it's just on the outside. But it led to so many behaviours and sort of negative experiences only because my mindset and my thoughts around myself was negative. And obviously this can lead to something I've experienced in my life is addictions and that sort of thing in later life because of the self-doubt. And it runs so true for me that I can see it started in childhood, and it's just those few comments. Now, I know mine may have been on sort of like the child abuse side rather than sort of a few fleeting comments, but even the little comments can make so much difference, especially when you're not seeing it from a child's point of view. As Penny said earlier, we take what adults tell us as gospel. I mean, one of the classic teachers comments would be, "I've got eyes in the back of my head," and you'd almost believe them because they would catch you out, and they would say, "How did they know I flicked that rubber band?" But they would know. So then you just assumed that they did have eyes in the back of their head and they could see what you were doing. And it's the smallest comments can really do the biggest damage. And I think just to put it out there to all the listeners that we're talking truth. However, we've got to see the light-hearted side of this as well. We're not told how to live life. We're not told how to live in joy, how to express ourselves in joy. We're taught how to learn specific subjects and process information. That's pretty much what our learning at schools all around. So there's no book on how to live life. We're not given a manual when we start. It would be very helpful if we could form one. But at the same time, when you have a child, you're not given this book on parent, how to be the ideal parent. So we just do what we can do. We don't know any better, so we just have to crack on. So anybody out there that's gone into slight reaction that they may have slightly hypnotised their children, it is what it is. And certainly I've done that myself, so I know it's possible. So we've got to see the light-hearted side of this and just be aware that it's something we do. However, trying to change it, and I think it's something that I think if we could bring it into schools, just a little bit of learning on that side of things. I know they're bringing meditation into schools, and they found that they were using meditation in detention. So all the kids that were said to be rowdy or sort of not clever, so they just make trouble, whatever it be. And these are some of the kids that they get told off whether they're good or bad. So they might as well just do whatever. And that's a real interesting sort of how children can make that decision. And it's like, well, if I get told off if I'm good or bad, well, I'll just do what I want. And that's when their behaviour comes really rowdy. But very much in schools, the kids that were in detention, seen as the bad kids, so to speak, they were doing meditation in detention, and they had to bring it out of detention because those kids weren't going back into detention because their grades were improving, they weren't rowdy in classrooms, and a lot of it is they're distracting themselves in classes and things like that because they're they don't feel connected. If you're sitting in a classroom and a teacher's talking and you feel like you don't understand, you go unpresent, disconnect, and then, well, you're probably likely to cause trouble or start doing something that you're not supposed to be doing just purely because you don't think you're good at what the teacher's telling you you're good at. But that's just because somebody's told you that. So yeah, it is a real interesting and close to my heart because it's something I've been through, experience. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it is. It is quite amazing, and it's you know, one of the things that Matthew was mentioning earlier on was, you know, the five senses and how kids use the five senses to pick up and interpret what's going on in their world. So, you know, if somebody comes up to them and shouts something and it looks aggressive, they'll remember the wide-eyed and they'll remember the terror that they felt, and that will be suppressed into the subconscious. But it's also really interesting to look at different things and look at, you know, how you know, it's amazing, you know, even with adults, how, you know, there's a great story one late night, a petrol tanker, you know, was out of control, careers down a hill and smashes through the front of the house. When, you know, when the rescuers obviously came to the house, they were amazed to find the young mother absolutely fast asleep, undisturbed by the crash. And as they were standing there not knowing what to do, her baby starts crying in the back room and the mother is instantly awake. You know, like, what's going on? Because she'd filtered out in her hearing system, and it was just tuned in for the baby, nothing else. And it's amazing how, you know, our five senses can, you know, decide what is important and what is not important. At the moment, as I was saying, my son Hector it's his sense of smell. It's amazing. His sense of smell is obviously developing hugely at the moment, and he loves flowers. He loves smelling flowers. I tell you what, he can smell chocolate at about 100 yards. He suddenly realised that chocolate comes in brightly coloured packages. So, you know, first it's the bright colour of the package coming into the house in the shopping, and he rifles through the shopping. And, you know, if it's on the floor, I can't put it on the floor anymore. It's got to go high up on a kitchen cabinet so that he can't rifle through. Because he'll pick out the packaging because of the bright colour, but also the smell. And it's really interesting that I can remember a situation when I was at school and we had this a very, I would say, what's the word, enthusiastic teacher who, I mean, I grew up, I'm not going to tell you what age I am, but it's over 50. So, and you know, if we didn't get things right, we would actually get a slap on the legs or a rigorous use of a ruler. And we had this particular teacher who had this smell, the perfume that she wore. And it was when I was doing a Breath for Life breath work and going back, obviously healing some stuff from the past, from childhood, I actually got the smell of her perfume whilst I was doing this particular part of the breathing. And it was, for me, obviously, it was a sickly sweet smell. And the sickly sweet smell was basically, you know, she would smile at you, but my word, she was a strict disciplinarian, but actually took her power too far. And it was really interesting to, you know, kids will associate smells. You know, I also love the smell of just cut grass. It takes me right back to childhood. And, when my dad had been cutting the grass at home and the smell of it. And, all sorts of different things bring back happy memories where we felt safe and we felt secure and we felt cared for and loved. And, some of these things we forget until we have that, we remember or we get that smell again in present day. So it's really, it's really, really important that, again, I can remember writing something and, kids can hear sweet wrappers being unwrapped 50 yards away. And, and, they know, I don't know what it is, but every child on the planet knows to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Christmas morning. Just.
Oh, yes.
so they can either run downstairs and rifle through the packages or actually get their stockings at the end of their bed. And, some of it is just amazing, and children, I can remember a vague film, what was it called? 3 Men and a Baby. And they were reading to the baby, and it didn't matter what they were reading, but it was the tone of voice that they were doing. So I think one of them was an architect or something, and he was actually reading technical drawings to the baby in a very gentle, methodical voice. And it's too true. It really is too true. It's not necessarily what we say; it's how we say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've worked, as I think you're all aware, that I worked for some time, 20 odd years, as a senior sister in an intensive care unit. And, one of the things I always encouraged family and friends to talk to the person who was ill, whether they were being ventilated or whether they were in a coma, just waking up or whatever it was, just to talk to them and read to them. And, I've also had, a personal experience of a close friend who basically fell off a bus, unfortunately, and hit her head on the pavement, and she ended up in the National Neuro Hospital in London. And she had to have surgery done, and she was in intensive care for a long time. And I would go and visit her every day on a daily basis when she was critical. And I would talk to her and read the paper and tell her what the weather was like. And I would be holding her shoulder as I did that. It was one of the only places that you could actually put a hand. And I was holding her shoulder and talking to her. And she got better, and she remembered that it was me that was speaking. So we go for another break.
Wow. Brilliant. We'll see you after the break.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. Om Times Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. Om Times Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single Om Times endeavor. Host your show with Om Times Radio Network.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of Om Times Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On. My passion is sifting through information, research and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
We are talking about your life. Ever wonder, is this as good as it gets? No, it could be so much better. At Acorn to Oak, we know you are seeking more happiness, joy, unconditional love, financial freedom, passion, and purpose. Find your unique mojo and live an extraordinary life. Want to know more? Contact us at our website, acorntooak.org.uk.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, we're back. You know, one of the things that's really important is we shouldn't have to explain ourselves to our children or endlessly reason with them till we're blue in the face. You know, it's because, you know, it's really important to actually be able to say, you know, we've asked you to do this, so please do it, without, you know, endlessly needing to scare them or say things like, wait until your father gets home, or you will make me sick if I have to go on this way. It's really important. Our jobs as parents is to be realistic, even, you know, paint a slightly rosy picture of life, and let them, you know, they're intelligent beings. Children are intelligent beings. We need to be firm and kind and give them a safe space in which to grow. But it's also important that, you know, as adults, we also get some downtime. We take care of ourselves, and our own authentic needs are taken care of. And the first step is to begin to understand yourself, to know why put downs have become part of your parenting in the first place. And even, you know, sometimes it's a case of just acknowledging, you know, what was said to us as children. You know, we weren't taught about parenting in school. You had to start from scratch when your children were born and work it out for yourself. But you did have one clear example, and that was your own parents. So if you find that, you know, some of the stuff, you know, you were yelled at as a child, you know, some of that needs to be worked through yourself, because otherwise the old tape recordings of what you heard when you were growing up repeat themselves. So, you know, some parenting, of course, go to extremes, you know, with painful memories of the way that you were used and raised and even scolded or hit or deprived in your own childhood. And the other danger, of course, is that you overcompensate for that. So that you allow your children to have everything that they want, not what you think is, you know, sensible, and you over allow them freedom with no discipline whatsoever, because children do need discipline, and they do need a framework in which to feel safe. You know, so, you know, you just thought it was right to do that type of thing. And it's a real shame when a child goes over the top and can be quite destructive and boisterous within themselves. I know whenever I look at Hector and he starts doing some over boisterous behaviour, it's usually because he's either hungry or tired. He's very simple right now. He's a 2-year-old. And so it's real easy to read whatever he needs, you know, choice, but, you know, something to eat or sleep time. So it's, you know, when your reserves are down, you know, you're going to have tension and worry within yourself, and that's much more likely when the child will start to act up, because it can feel the tension within you and makes up a story. The rational mind, we were talking last week about levels of consciousness. The rational mind, which is in the conscious mind, tries to find a reason for it, and if it cannot see a reason, it will blame itself. The child will blame itself. Mum and dad doesn't love me anymore because they're just trying to get rid of me. Whereas in fact, mum or dad needs to have some downtime and needs to get away and just have some peace and quiet so they can work through their own worries. A child doesn't know that. A child will just say, mum and dad doesn't want to be near me. I don't know why. So the tension can be dissipated basically, 3 ways I always talk about dissipating tension, by rigorous action. So either going out for a run, if you're a runner, or, something like hitting a mattress, a rigorous workout, going for a brisk walk, anything, to just help you get rid of the tension without it coming back into the house. Dissolving tension through, talking with a friend, finding an affection from your partner. Obviously, if you don't have one, some type of activity like yoga, massage, Reiki, whatever you can do to actually help you release tension. Then, of course, we're Acorns Woke, so we're going to talk about dealing with suppressed emotions through using the tool Breath for Life or breath work, so that you can be free to enjoy your children. Because they're such great fun, and you love them. You love them. They can drive you crazy, and they can make you hit the gin bottle, but they are there to be loved and to love you. And it's really, really important that you take care of your own authentic needs so that you can be there and enjoy them, every day. Because I tell you what, it was Hector's second birthday on Sunday. And I was just reviewing some of it and looking back at some of the pictures of when he was first born. And he was only 6 pounds, 8 ounces when he was born. And, just how tiny he was and how much he has changed in those first 2 years of life is just astonishing. And he's a little, he's a little, obviously a toddler, but he's a little man now. He's got his, big boy's haircut, and we got him a wetsuit because he was out. He loves being in the sea, and he's a real surfer dude. And you look at it and just go, where has that time gone? Where has it flown? And you just look at it and go, whoa. That's 2 years. And I know every parent is going to agree with me when I actually say, when you've got children, you actually keep a good eye on time, because it's amazing, the speed with which your children grow and how they change. And, Hector now is, beginning to string sentences together. And, only a couple of months ago, he was still doing gobbledygook, whereas now he's not. And it's just astonishing. It is astonishing. And, one of the things I think for me and what I really am so pleased about is that, doing a self-evolution journey or personal development is very much, it makes you stay present, and it helps you, or should I say, it helps you stay present for every magic moment. And when I'm with him, it is such a blessing, such an amazing blessing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have work that I do, etc., etc., etc. But when I get to spend time with Hector, I make sure that I spend absolutely 100% present. So, handing back to you, Matthew.
Yeah, I think that leads me on to a statement I really like. If you ask people, would you do anything for your children? The answer you get is yes. If you ask people, would you die for your children? They say, of course I would. I'd jump in front of a bullet for them. If you ask them to live for their children, they suddenly get confused and say, well, what do you mean? And it's very much like you said. It's being there, being present every second you're with them. If you've got bad habits like smoking, don't let them see you smoking. Don't let them see you doing bad behaviours. Show them good behaviours. Be there with them. Always be engaged. Now, children, they're mirrors of us, and there'll be times when you may feel as though you look at them and you think, who are you and where did you come from? And you may feel like drop kicking them out of the house. However, at those times, it's not taking anything out on that child, certainly not drop kicking them for a start, but it's when you notice that you're getting tetchy, that you're getting wound up, make sure the child is safe. And if that child is safe, leave the room, leave the environment, get yourself straight, take a breath. Ask yourself, what's this all about? Why am I so stressed right now? Why am I not able to cope right here, right now? And talk yourself through the process. Keep your breath moving, and if there's any emotions up, just let them flow and gain an understanding of what's winding you up and why you're wound up, so that you can get yourself back into a present state of alignment where you can then go and re-engage with that child and have the fun stuff. Because all the time we're in joy, we enjoy the fun and this, that and the other. It's only when we're stressed and we've got 100 things to do and we've got lunch boxes to do and school things to sort out. I know with my niece and nephew going out, you need 15 things more than you would if it was just yourself. And that, I would be told by a lot of mothers, that's just a start. But it's that, be there for them, show up for them. Don't die for them. Live for them in every moment. Let them see you happy. Engage with them, and it's bringing in all the good, the juicy stuff, and you gain so much from it. And I've had it myself where I have had to walk away and obviously make sure the child's safe and they're in an environment. Take myself out and go, right, what's this really about? And it's usually around a situation I haven't dealt with in the morning or something. I may have got cut up or had an argument with someone, and all that's going around in my mind is, oh, well, I should have said this and I should have said that, and this, that and the other. And actually, that's why I'm stressed. It's not because the children are playing up or anything like that. It's because of a situation I haven't dealt with. And it can be real easy to get dragged into it, dragged into the hustle and bustle of life, rather than thinking everything will get done. But what a penny saying, perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance. It goes a long way to making life real easy. And if you've got that preparation, then you don't need the stress. Everything gets done, and you can just engage with the joy and just really enjoy your children, because ultimately that's what we all want.
And it's also about having your realistic expectations, and if you are going to go to the beach, if it's me and I only have one. I mean, there's loads of people who've got many more children than just one. It's making sure that stuff is done whilst he is doing something else. Maybe he's with my husband Luke, or maybe he's sitting down and eating, and then all the preparation gets done. Or he may be watching was it a film or something on the TV, and I get all the stuff done, and then make sure it's all done before we start getting him ready, because once he's ready, he decides we're going within 30 seconds. It's like, as soon as he gets his shoes on, then we're off, and we can't go round and then prepare everything. So it's as you heard Matthew saying, planning and preparation prevent piss poor performance. That is one of my favourite sayings, and it is just actually getting it all sorted. Because even getting one child out it's like as Matthew mentioned, it's like trying to get an army organised, especially if you go to the beach with wetsuits and this and towels and heaven knows what else, and lunch and umbrellas and this and that and the other, and it can take some time, and it's realising that if you do it in stress, then it doesn't become a pleasurable outing. It becomes a slog and hard work, and you're just not enjoying it. So lovely to talk to you, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.